Yes, welcome everyone to the live stream. Thanks again. Thanks again for tuning in. In this live stream, we're going to talk about my new 18-6 intermittent fasting schedule. If you've been following along with these series of live streams every couple of weeks, hey Michael, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. As you can see, when you ask a question, I'll be able to pull it into the live stream so everyone can learn from each other when we're doing this. Just make sure if my sound is good, if the picture's good, just give me a thumbs up. It looks like my voice is slightly delayed. If that is the case, I can fix that. So if that's the case, let me know. So we're going to go over what I've been doing over the past couple of weeks. Actually, I was actually in ketosis for a couple of weeks, except for Thanksgiving Day. I popped out of ketosis Thanksgiving Day because I kind of had a refeed, kind of like a cheat day. Sounds good, Mike? Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Great. And then I'm actually coming out of ketosis and I'm going into an 18-6 intermittent fasting schedule, which I actually started yesterday. And that's what we're going to talk about. But first, I want to go over exactly what I did, like the type of fasting schedule, the type of foods I was eating to get into a state of ketosis. I go over my exact schedule. And then I'll tell you like the results I had for doing it for a couple of weeks. And it is good because you can learn along with me if you're looking to maybe just pop into ketosis every now and then. I think it's good to kind of reset your metabolism to become a little bit more of a fat burner to do from time to time. And then I'll go over exactly what I'm doing now because I'm kind of like upping my carbohydrates back to my normal low carbohydrate type diet. And I'll tell you like the changes that I made. I'll pull in slides. I got about eight or nine different slides to go through. The last couple of slides I'll show the difference of how I went from only eating, say, 50 grams of carbohydrates, which is kind of low for me, which will put me into ketosis, to what I'm doing now, which is more like 100 grams of carbohydrates. And I'll give you exact pictures of the different meals, how I added a little bit of carbohydrates to my meals, okay? And so let's go into the first slide. If you have any questions, ask as many questions as you want. I'm going to hang around here as long as you want. I like to stay on for an hour. You can ask during the presentation. You can ask questions at the end about fitness, health, nutrition, anything you want to talk about. So pretty much like I said, I just ended 2 weeks of ketosis. Except for Thanksgiving Day, I did like an OMAD day, had a feasting day where I just ate pretty much anything I wanted for about a 3-hour period. My parents came over. It was a wonderful Thanksgiving. It was great. Unfortunately, I missed my brother, which was a little disappointing, but it still was a really, really great, fun Thanksgiving. So let's go over the schedule that I followed. This is the schedule that I followed for about 2 solid weeks until Saturday. Okay, so what I did is, for example, every single Monday, I fasted for 24 hours, which is not that hard for me. Now, it's the fact that I'm always eating a relatively low carbohydrate diet. I've been doing it for like a decade already, eating around like 100, 150 grams of carbs a day. When I do a 24-hour fast, I'm already in ketosis, 18, 19, 20 hours into a fast. Plus, I'm working out. I'm in a mild state of ketosis. And when I mean mild ketosis, I used to years ago all the time test my ketone. First, I used the urine strips, which really weren't very reliable. Then I switched to the more expensive blood meters, where you poke your finger and you take a blood sample. Years ago, they were very expensive. They were like $5 a strip every time you did it. And I'm a little neurotic. I don't really like poking my finger constantly. And so what I was looking for, I tested my ketones once during the couple of weeks that I was doing this. I'm looking for 0.5, just like a mild state of ketosis. So if I'm fasting for 24 hours on a Monday, I'm in ketosis like 20 hours into the fast already. And I think that's a great thing to do. I think a 24-hour fast once a week for anyone is a great thing to do. Keep insulin levels low, right? You're going to be in a calorie deficit. You're burning some body fat. I recommend a 24-hour fast once a week. I think it's a great thing for most people to do, okay? And this is what I did. Then when it came to the next 6 days of the week, let's see what Mike's got a question here. Okay, Mike, I think 18-6 overall, one of the best methods of intermittent fasting. I have done 24. He fasted for 20 hours, took in all his food in a 4-hour eating window. OMAD, but always find myself floating back to 18-6 for the majority of the days, and find it fits perfectly and pretty easy to do. I totally agree, Michael. I seem to be gravitating all the time. In the last 2-3 years, I seem to be gravitating, always come back to 18-6. I think you're getting like the best of both worlds. And I'm going to go into it in great detail towards the end of the thing, but just think, with a 6-hour eating window, you can take in enough calories. You can do a 2-MAD, you can do a 3-MAD within the 6-hour eating window. You're still getting a nice fasting, keeping insulin levels low. Maybe kicking in a little bit of autophagy the last few hours of the fast. I love 18-6, and I think that is my go-to intermittent fasting schedule and like strategy, and that's why I'm going back to it right now after being ketosis and doing this a little bit more of an extreme thing for the past couple of weeks. Okay, so that's what I did. So from Tuesday to Sunday, I did a combination of 18-6 with only 2 meals a day, and then I did 16-8, 3 meals a day. And this is how I like to do that. On the days when I'm only doing my cardio, let's say I'm doing a long walk, or I'm doing like a high intensity type cardio workout, which only lasts like 15, 20 minutes, I want to keep an eye on my calories because I'm not burning too many calories, even though I live a very active lifestyle. So on those days when I did 18-6, I only ate 2 meals a day. But on the days when I did my resistance training over the past 2 weeks, when I kicked into more of a 16-8, gave myself a little bit of a bigger eating window, and I took in 3 meals for the day. So I took in more calories, I took in a little bit more protein, because I'm always concerned about maintaining muscle mass and protein synthesis, and I'm doing my resistance training. So that was the routine that I followed. I did skip breakfast. If you follow some of the other live streams, I've been experimenting with all different fasting schedules. I did experiment with skipping dinner and eating breakfast, but like I talked about in the past, it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't fit into my schedule. I like to eat dinner with my wife at night. It didn't fit in my workout schedule too. I feel like I didn't digest my meals properly for my midday workout. So I do like skipping breakfast. Okay, so then what I did, after fasting all morning, I did a fasted workout, kind of late morning-ish, maybe around 11 o'clock. Had my first meal, 12 o'clock on my 16-8 days, around 2 o'clock on my 18-6 days, and then I had my last meal before 8 p.m. every single day, 6 days a week, and I did my 24-hour fast on Monday. Okay, and then what I did is that since I really cut back on my carbohydrates, I gave myself a max, and not even net carbs. If you don't know the difference between total carbs and net carbs are fiber minus total carbohydrates. So for example, like an avocado, say an avocado has 25 grams of total carbohydrates, but it has, say, 20 grams of fiber. Net carbs is only 5 grams, but I literally just did 50 grams of less of total carbs. So I was in ketosis, pretty much mild ketosis the whole week. Maybe obviously on Thanksgiving Day, I did eat some carbohydrates. I ate a lot of food. I popped out of ketosis probably for half a day, but then I went right back into ketosis. I think by Friday night I was right back into ketosis again. Let's see what we got here. So we got another question. Cool. I found the same thing. Early time restricted feeding, it doesn't work for me with skipping dinner. Can't train on a full stomach even hours. I'm totally with you. I felt the same thing. First of all, I definitely I like the social aspect of eating dinner with my wife, especially my kids are at school now. But when they were home, I loved eating dinner with my wife and kids every single night. Plus, I'm so used to training in a fasted state, or sometimes if I'm doing a really hard resistance training workout, I may do something like a little celery juice. I buy that Evolution brand celery juice, and I may put a scoop of protein powder in. And my stomach, my digestive system can tolerate that if I'm doing hard resistance training. But if I ate a full meal like I was doing a few weeks ago, a month ago, 2-3 hours later, I'm still not ready to do a hard workout. It repeats on me. So, I'm totally with you on that. I totally understand. Yeah, amen. To the early eating was terrible for me too. Yeah, I know, it's amazing. Even though, like I said, like I talked about in the other live streams, the reason why I wanted to try it were twofold. First of all, there is some research out there for sure saying that taking in protein earlier in the day might be better for muscle hypertrophy, protein synthesis, maintaining muscle mass. So that was one reason why I do it. And there seems to also be, when it comes to sticking with your normal circadian rhythm, like Dr. Panda, all the research that he's doing, talking about, it may make sense to, like, when you wake up in the morning when sunlight hits your eyes, like to start your digestive system earlier in the day, to stay with your normal circadian rhythm, and then to skip dinner. But it just doesn't work with me. And I was following, I talk about these guys all the time, Dr. Peter Attia, and I also follow I think Andrew 𝘾𝙊𝘾𝙃 Labs. He's a professor at Stanford. I love his podcast. He's been doing similar things to what I've been doing. He tried eating breakfast, didn't work for him either. So he's sticking to more like a 16-8 or an 18-6 later in the day, but eating at the same time, sticking with the normal circadian rhythm. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. Also, whenever I start eating, my brain wants more. Coffee with a little cream of milk, fat is okay, but no food. I agree. It's interesting. Like after I do a 24-hour fast, I'm not hungry, right? You know, I'm in a mild state of ketosis. As soon as I eat something, like I have dinner, or even after fasting for 24 hours, I want something. You know, it's really incredible how the body works. It really is. It really is. When you're not eating, you're not hungry. You start eating something, you get hungry. It's so true. They say, yeah, all the positive research was triggering me into trying eating early, but no, yeah, I agree. It doesn't feel right for me either. Not that I won't try it again, because I'm always trying different things. And the other big change I made, I always also, kind of like the schedule I was doing to get into ketosis, I always did in the past like to vary though my fasting schedule from day to day. Like for example, do an 18-6 one day, do a 20-hour fast the next day, do maybe a 16-8, then take a day off. And I am going to go back to that. But it seems like when you really study Dr. Panda's work, and he focuses more on time-restricted eating, time-restricted feeding, he really tries to make the argument that it's very good to get your body used to a certain time when you go to sleep every night, when you wake up in the morning, when you break your fast, to get it like into your normal circadian rhythm. He thinks there's a lot of benefit to that. That's why I'm trying to stick to, when I'm going to go back to this 18-6. You'll see later in this live stream. I'm going to do the same thing for a couple of weeks, and that's going to be my new strategy. I'm going to stick to these schedules maybe 2-3 weeks, you know, record my results, see how I do, and then I'll make my adjustments. Okay, so that's pretty much how I got into ketosis, eating 50 total grams of less of carbs per day, fasting for 24 hours every Monday, 16-8, 18-6, 6 days during the week, and then, you know, working out midday. And I'm eating a whole natural food diet. You know how I eat, you know, really healthy. Let's see what Michael's got here. Okay, so true. I always feel comfortable training later in the day. I always have done so. Eating window later in the day is a must for me. Early eating, just no for me, feels unnatural. No, me too. Yeah, I had a hard time. You know, growing up as a kid, I mean, all in my 20s, whenever obviously I always ate breakfast. It was sort of like forced upon you to eat breakfast every day. But in the last decade, 10, 12 years, me and my wife both, we don't really eat breakfast. I do have black coffee in the morning. I can't live without my coffee. I can probably give up almost anything. But black coffee, I just love it. I have a couple cups of black coffee. I drink a lot of mineral water, still well hydrated. But eating early just doesn't work for me. And I think that was the warrior diet too. He was a big believer in skipping breakfast and, you know, doing that 24, taking all your calories within a 4-hour eating window. That's one of the first books I read about. I guess you can say fasting. That, Brad Palin's book, Eat, Stop, Eating, and then that website, Lean Gains. That was a great website, Lean Gains. He's the one who popularized the 18-6, and that site's still out there. So it's still a ton of great information on Lean Gains. I would want to read his book. I got to order his book and read his book. I'd love to read his book. Okay, so let's go over the results, like pretty much like how I felt, what happened to me for being in a state of ketosis. And it's interesting because I think I had mild effects, because you have to remember, I've been eating low carb for like 10 years already. So I just went from pretty much 100 grams or so of carbs a day to below 50, which put me pretty much consistently in mild ketosis, where in the past, I would probably just jump in and out of ketosis during the week. So what I did, which is really interesting, and plus doing that 24-hour fast once a week, definitely put me in a calorie deficit for a couple of weeks. So I did lose about 3 pounds. And why I think it was straight up body fat, well, pretty much at least 2 pounds out of the 3 was body fat, is because my belt, I'm kind of in between belt sizes. I kind of went down like a half a size, which put me at a different loop. Okay, let's see what we got here. Yeah, Lean Gains. Yeah, Lean Gains really is. It's still tons of great articles there. Why does breakfast make me hungry? The one was an eye-opener for me. Yeah, I know. It's really incredible. Let's see. Carolyn is here. Oh, hey, thanks for stopping by. I too think 18-6 is best for me. It's great. Experience with 16-8 and the over 24 hours and beyond. They work too. I've lost 22 pounds. Whoa, Cal, that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you. 22 pounds. That's an accomplishment. Dynamite. Stay with it. You know, keep on mixing it up. Don't overdo it though. If you follow me a little bit too, you know, I'm also a big believer in taking diet breaks and upping your calories to maintenance from time to time. But we'll talk about that more as we go. But congratulations, you're doing great. Let's see what else Michael's got here. Yes, it's the later in the day. Totally agree. Early eating activates your rest and digest system. Early eating window made me really unproductive. It's true. Sometimes, you know, you start feeding that furnace first thing in the morning, keeps you hungry the whole day. You know, there's definitely something to that. Okay, so that's what it is. So I lost 3 pounds in 2 weeks, being in that mild ketosis. Lost about a half size on my waist and on my buckle on my pants, which was great. I didn't lose any strength, which also is an indicator to me that I really lost body fat. I didn't really lose any muscle. You know, it's kind of hard. I used to take my body fat percentages all the time. I have the calipers at the gym. I have electrical impedance scale. You know, it's so hard to say. I think the best thing is looking in the mirror. If you're maintaining your strength and your waist is getting smaller, you know things are going in the right direction. You know you're losing body fat. Like, this is what I felt though. But I did feel though, because I did feel a little bit weaker when it came to doing my high intensity, my HIIT cardio. Like, I do this high intensity cardio, like a 20-minute, like kind of pretty hard cardio workout on the elliptical, on the Stairmaster twice a week at my gym. And I got to say, I did feel I didn't quite have that kick a little bit. So I think I was lacking carbs a little bit for that. But when it came to my resistance training, I felt pretty good. I didn't get any weaker. You know, I keep my workouts relatively on the short side anyway, so I was pretty good. Just that high intensity cardio, I did feel a little bit. I definitely missed, though, no question about it, those extra 50 grams of carbs. You know, and you'll see with my pictures, those I generally eat, you know, berries. I love to have a glass of wine with my wife a couple nights a week. You know, I every now and then I also like I'm talking with 𝘾𝙊𝘼𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂. I like to have refeed meals from time to time, go to maintenance, go above, fill up my muscle with glycogen. I like to do that now and then, because this is another thing I felt when I'm really in ketosis for a couple of weeks. And this is kind of like a bodybuilding-ish maybe term you may hear people say, is that I looked flat. I looked flat, meaning that, you know, the glycogen levels, like when you eat carbohydrates, you store those excess carbs, you know, in your muscles, like, you know, this in your muscles, you live in the form of glycogen, right? For every gram of glycogen you store in your muscles, you hold a couple of 2, 3, 4 grams of water. So it kind of volumizes the muscle cell. So it makes you look more muscular. So I definitely felt a little, even though I wasn't weaker, I don't think I really lost muscle. I did lose that volumization of the muscle. I felt a little flat. Also, I do a lot of metabolic stress type training at the gym, meaning that I pump the muscle up. You know, I do like, you know, I do heavy weights every now and then, but I have to say 80% of my training, I do more metabolic stretch where I pump the muscle up with moderate to light weights. And you definitely get protein synthesis. You definitely get a training effect. In fact, I did a great video on it. I'll link it below this later, talking about how light weights can be just as effective as using heavy weights when it comes to muscle hypertrophy. So I felt like I just couldn't get that great pump in the gym. That's why I do like to eat around 100 grams of carbs a day, sometimes even a little bit more, and take some refeed meals just to fill up my muscle with glycogen from time to time, get a good pump in the gym. It just feels good to me. When it comes to a health perspective, is there a benefit to doing that? Maybe not. When it comes to, you know, a little bit of resistance training and bodybuilding, I think it's nice to just, you know, put some carbs in your system from time to time. Okay, so let's talk about the new plan. Okay, let's see what there you go. You got some support, Carolyn. That's great. Excellent. That's great. Okay, let's go. Let's talk about what I'm going to do now. So this is going to be the new plan. This is what I'm going to do for at least 2 weeks going forward. I already broke it. It feels good. I posted a couple of pictures on Instagram that I had a couple of like thin crackers, you know, on my, you know, during the lunches up in my car. I'm only going to go about 100 grams, maybe 125, something along the lines of that. You know, 400, 500 calories of carbs a day, 500 the most. Okay. So the new schedule is going to be for 2 weeks. And like I said, I'm going to do a time restricted feeding. So I'm going to follow the same thing. I'm going to stay with my normal circadian rhythm. I'm going to do it every single day for at least 2 weeks. I'm going to do 18-6. I'm going to skip breakfast. And I'm going to stick with this hack. I talked about this maybe about a month ago. I'm going to take some essential amino acids at 10 a.m. And the reason why I'm going to do that is I'm trying to get the best of both worlds. Since we talked about the research of that there is benefit to taking in protein earlier in the day for muscle hypertrophy, for maintaining muscle mass, I'm going to take in some of the essential amino acids. These are like the non-amino acids that your body can make. You have to get it for your food. And leucine's in there, which is the main one, or not the main one, a real important one for putting on muscle and maintaining muscle mass. But the cool thing about essential amino acids is that they have no calories. And it's a little bit debatable, but a lot of people feel that if you've taken these essential amino acids just in like a tablet or in a powder form, you're getting your proteins without that insulin spike, without breaking your fast. So I am going to do that. for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to stay with that like protein hack. I did it in the past. I kind of like it. The only negative side for me is that it's expensive. You want to spending, $50 a month on these supplements, and I already spent enough money eating perfectly and all of the supplements. Nice, we get some other questions here. So we get, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Isn't the reverse flies also an exercise that causes shear to the shoulder joint? Also dumbbell flies. I put a comment. Oh, I must have missed your comment. Sorry about that. Sometimes these comments come in. I get like 50 comments in one day, and then I don't get a comment. It's hard for me to find them. I'm sorry about that. Yes, I think a rear deltoid is like a bent over lateral or the rear delt machine. I never liked that rear delt machine. I felt that I got a shearing feeling on my shoulder as well. I would say it's the same thing. Rear deltoid, the antagonist to the pec, same thing, creates a shearing force in the shoulder. I was never that crazy about it. There are things you can do. You can angle, and if anything, I think a bent elbow, rear deltoid move is a little less shearing force in the shoulder. It's not like we said, not that all shearing force is bad, but I was never crazy about a bent over lateral or a rear deltoid machine. So I definitely agree with you there. That's what Michael's got. Off the topic, Mike, but are you walking proof of it and low carb? You look great. I'd say, look, I appreciate it. Yeah, this 59. I have to say, though, if you followed me, thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. I think we're about the same age, too, so I really appreciate that. But I have to say, like I talked about this, a couple of months ago when I turned 59. This was the first year. And generally, whenever I have a big birthday, or just a birthday in general, I like to get like my body fat extra low and get in just a top shape. Just with the pandemic and this summer, I didn't reach my, my super heavy duty like 6-pack that I normally would get around my birthday. I kind of missed it. I feel like I'm almost there. I'm a little better now already. I think I'm really going to make a push when I turn 60 for next summer to really get down to like a true 10%, really get the 6-pack going. And I see remnants of it right now. I think I'm gonna do when I turn 60. It'll kind of do like a special thing. So we'll see how it goes. You agree, Mike? Yeah, I agree too. That rear delt, I never was crazy about that rear delt motion. Even when you're doing your rows, you're hitting your rear delt a lot from all your posterior type work. You're doing your seated rows and things like that. Even deadlifting RDLs, you're hitting the rear delts pretty good too. You stabilize that whole posterior chain. It's great. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to do the 18-6. I'm going to skip breakfast. I'm going to take my essential aminos 10 a.m. in the morning. Okay. I'm going to work out late in the morning like I typically do. Okay. I'm going to have my first meal around 2 o'clock, post-workout. So I'm going to do that 18-hour fast. Have my last meal before 8 p.m. And I talked about it on the bottom of the slide. I'm going to do the same thing that I did, though, when I was doing the strategy to get into ketosis. Whenever I do my resistance training, I'm always going to up my calories a little bit more and do 3 meals to make sure I get enough protein in. I'm going to take in 150 grams of protein every day. And then the days that I'm doing my cardio, when I'm doing those short, like high-intensity workouts, maybe only 20 minutes, or say I'm taking a 90-minute walk, I'm going to do 2 MAD. So I do like to cycle my calories. I do believe that it's really good for your metabolism to some days eat more, some days eat less. So maybe you can still create a calorie deficit, but you're boosting your metabolism on the day you're eating more, and you're eating, and your metabolism slows down a little bit on the days you're eating less. But by changing your calories up like that, I think it's a great strategy. So that was one of the reasons why in the past I always recommended people to vary their intermittent fasting strategies. Like, for example, do a 20-hour fast one day, right? Only eat for 4 hours. That's going to be a low-calorie day for you. But then maybe the next day, only do a 16-hour fast, eat some more. So you're automatically cycling your calories without looking things up. But the fact that I'm doing a time-restricted feeding and following the same protocol every single day, I'm going to make a conscious effort by doing 2 MAD and 3 MAD to cycle my calories that way. So I'm still going to try to stay with that concept of eating more some days, eating less the other days. I think that minimizes the slowdown in your metabolism, metabolic adaptation for when you're losing weight. Okay, and I'm still going to stick to my low carb, whole natural food diet. I'm going to give you pictures, and I'm going to do a max, not a max, I'm going to be at about 100 grams of carbs a day. And I'm going to go, I'm not even going to do net carbs, like total carbs. Maybe sometimes I may creep up to 125. I'm not going to drive myself nuts. But I'm definitely going to eat my berries again, have a glass of wine now and then. I'm going to probably eat more vegetables in the evening. You'll see. I'm going to show you exact pictures. Michael said, just started upping my sardine intake. Yeah, I eat sardines. I got everyone. I'm so excited when everyone who follows me starts eating sardines. I think sardines it's like the superfood. It's probably one of the best sources of protein you can possibly have. And you'll see some pictures of them later on. You get the omega-3s, you get the healthy fats, right? You get the connective tissue from the sardines, because you get the bones, the skin, you get the calcium from the sardines. It's such a good source of protein and relatively inexpensive. I buy that Henry and Lisa's brand. That's my favorite brand. You know, they're delicious. They're like $3.50 a can. I mean, I absolutely love it. Oh, thanks. I'm sure I don't lift as heavy weights as you do, but I do lift and I play tennis. I'm 45. Do you think I would benefit from taking amino acids? You could. You know, it's interesting. If you're eating enough complete protein, you're getting all your essential aminos, you don't necessarily need to. But if you want to do this little hack that I'm doing, like if you're skipping breakfast, but you're a little concerned about the new research indicating that maybe it's better to take in protein earlier in the day, maybe you want to do that an essential amino acid supplement. I buy Ben Greenfield's brand, Ketosis, K-I-O-N. I'll link that below this too. I'm not an affiliate, you know, with him or anything like that. I just like his brand. I like him. It's kind of expensive though. It's about $50 a month. I mean, you can do like 2 scoops of whey protein or 1 scoop of whey protein isolate. That's you get all your essential aminos there. But that whey protein is going to spike your insulin level. It really depends on really, you know, how much protein you're totally taking in and what your goals are. I would say that. But I do like, my general rule for protein is 0.9 grams per pound of lean body weight. So I always say you're 150 pounds. You're 20% body fat, so you got 120 pounds of lean muscle mass on you. You know, you're going to even times that by 1. You want 115, 120, 125 grams of protein. I like to stay around 150 grams of protein, pretty much there. So this is how, like, you know, I control my weight. I always eat an adequate, good amount of protein, right? I don't count my fat calories, but they come from the whole natural foods I'm eating, because I'm eating avocados and I'm eating, you know, sardines, I'm eating salmon, I'm eating things like whole eggs like that. And I control my weight. Like if I want to drop my body weight, I control it with the cause. I did just what I did. I lost 3 pounds of body fat just from going ketosis for 2 weeks. So that's why I like to do it. So what kind of do? Okay. I'm a 58-year-old woman that presents different challenges, but this technique works. I feel amazing and look years younger. I love sardines. Some are better than others. You know, I agree. I'm glad you're doing so well. I love sardines too. Some people hate them. It's interesting. People comment on sardines so much because I show pictures of them all the time. Some people find them repulsive. I actually love them. But people are always asking for substitutes. And I always suggest like maybe smoked salmon, which I have all the time too. Any type of oily fish, any omega-3 rich fish or source of type of protein. That's why everyone talks about this. It's better. You're always better off having pasture-raised eggs, right? So you get the better omega-3. You're always better off, if you can afford it, you buy grass-fed, grass-finished type beef and you know and all your animal proteins like that, because you're going to get a better profile of the fat a little bit. No, I think tuna too. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, no, I love tuna too. I used to eat tuna like crazy. Every now and then I'll still have a can of tuna, and I actually I wish I could remember the brand. I can't think of the brand, but sometimes you can go look at a can of tuna or a pouch of tuna, and it'll say that the tunas are smaller, so they're lower in mercury. But I love tuna, like swordfish. I love swordfish. I don't eat swordfish anymore. You know, it's funny. A number of my clients have tested high for mercury over the years. I mean, dozens, like literally. And doctors have told them, never eat tuna again. Never eat swordfish again. So I guess it really is an issue, the mercury. I haven't been tested. Last time I was tested many years ago, it was fine. I haven't been tested in a while, but I eat a ton of fish. But I eat mostly, you know, salmon, like they say, like the sardines, things like that. So I think I'm okay. But I eat a lot of white fish too, like flounder and fluke and Arctic char, things like that. I love fish. I was a pescatarian for years. Now I eat red meat, but still most of my animal protein is fish more than anything, I would say for sure. Avocados, yes, love the avocados. That's probably another one of my superfoods. Sardines, avocados, eat them like almost every day. Let's see what Mike's got here. I also tried raw eggs recently. Actually, not too bad. Can still only eat a couple at a time. It's interesting. As a kid, after watching those Rocky movies, right? We you know, Rocky Balboa. I was doing that, you know, constantly. And then I stopped. I mean, I probably should try it again. I haven't done it in a long time. I love the taste of eggs. I love cooking them. You know, obviously the thing years ago when I was eating more of like a traditional-ish type bodybuilding diet, when I was eating like egg whites and eating low carb and I'm eating high carb and lower fat, I didn't want to like scramble the eggs in butter. I didn't want to scramble the eggs in olive oil. But nowadays, I'm not worried about the olive oil. So I love scrambling eggs in olive oil or frying some eggs in olive oil. You know, I think it's great. So, you know, but it's interesting the raw eggs. Yes, organic eggs for sure. I agree. Yeah, I try to buy organic eggs, like pasture raised. It can't say. I usually just go free range, but then everyone's telling me no. Free range means that they just open up the hen house and the hens don't necessarily go out. They really have to say pasture raised on the carton, meaning that they're just grazing and they're roaming around, they're eating the grass and just getting all the, all the good stuff like that. That if they're eating, like, just organic might not be good enough, even though it's still good. But hey, a whole egg is still good for you no matter what, I think. Even meat. If you can't afford it, you don't want to go for grass-fed, grass-finished, it's not all that much difference in my opinion. I saw I think it was a live stream that Dr. 𝘾𝙊𝘼𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂 did. He was talking about the same thing. He said, if you don't have the money, you don't want to spend the money on pasture raised or on grass-fed, grass-finished, you're still going to get like 80% of the benefit just buying eggs in general and just buying, red meat and not driving yourself nuts, with it. Hey, Krill is here. Hey, Krill, thanks for showing up. I know I did this last minute. Thanks for showing up. How often can you eat tuna safely? I know, it's really, really hard to say. I don't know. I wouldn't eat it every week. I can't say I'm an expert. I would say once a month. Once a month. It really depends on the source of where the tuna is, how much mercury is in that particular tuna. I think there's a big difference in the size of the tuna because, like, there's a health food store right near my gym. It's called Mrs. Green's, and every now and then I'll buy tuna there. But like I said, it'll say specifically on this bag of tuna that I buy from time to time. It really said this is low mercury tuna. These are small fish that shouldn't have too much tuna. The whole concept, low on the food chain. They don't. That's why swordfish, they're eating all the other fish, collecting all mercury from all the other fish. That's why you're like, if you can eat small tuna, you're better off. But I still will be careful. Unfortunately, you can always get tested. Next time you have your blood work done, ask to have a mercury test and see where you're at. And but it can be reversed. It can be reversed. I wouldn't be overly concerned about it, but I would minimize the tuna for sure, and obviously swordfish, things like that. Let's see what we got. Okay, back to red meat. I'm like you, trying to stick to fish, but also beans for protein, but secretly alone for I definitely eat red meat. I don't eat it every single day, but I'm not as concerned about it as you are. I think it's I think, like we talked about in the past, I think a lot of the research on red meat that showed the negative sides of it, there were other factors that contributed to it. But like anything, I think red meat, a little bit of red meat is okay as long as you don't overdo it. Like, for example, I just made, since I'm getting out of this ketosis, me and my wife make this chili. Actually, my wife's away this week at her Christmas party, out of New York. I couldn't go with the gym and all things like that, so she went by herself. So I know she loves this, and I made like a bison, like a buffalo chili, and I put like 1 can of beans in it, not 2, just to cut back on the carbs a little bit. And I make it very heavy with, I'll put a picture on it after this, with onions and with peppers. And I love it. So that's when I'll eat a lot of red meat, because this bowl, I make 4 pounds of it. I make a tremendous pot of it. So I may eat little red meat, a little buffalo for like a week, but then I'll eliminate red meat for maybe 2-3 weeks. I probably won't have it almost for a month because I get my fill over the past week. Let's see. Okay, the right amount of red meat is all right. Yes, that's Carolyn. Okay, do you bake egg protein bread? No, I want to try. No, I would love to make that. I never made egg protein bread. I used to take egg protein powder as a kid, like in my 20s as well too. But I found like it would foam up. They used to have this egg white protein powder, which was kind of popular. I would love to try that. Like any type of protein type baking it could definitely be fun. That sounds cool. Okay, so we got the general gist. Buffalo is very American. It tastes great. The thing, it's so lean. I mean, sometimes I'll buy like the grass-fed, grass-finished, just cow type, chopped meat, and I always like to first cook that first, and I kind of like to pour the fat out of it. And when I do buffalo, you can't even get any, like, no fat comes out of it. It's unbelievable how lean buffalo is. So you see, I have to say, even though most of my calories do come from fat, most of my calories come from more monounsaturated fat. It's interesting, I just read an article this morning. I would subscribe to Peter Attia's newsletter. His newsletter was great. He had one this morning talking about how some people who go on a ketogenic diet get like extremely high cholesterol levels. And people have contacted me over the years saying that, Mike, I'm doing keto, or I'm doing a low carb, high fat type diet, and my cholesterol went to 400. And it's interesting, there are genotypes like 𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂. You have to ask for, like, special blood work and look at your genotypes, that certain people, and it's a pretty high percentage, it could be 20-25% of the population, don't process saturated fat like other people do. Like, I've had my blood work done on a high-fat diet. My cholesterol is great. Other things are not so great with me. My cholesterol has always been really good. So some people, for example, if you go on a ketogenic diet or you're on a low-carb diet and you start eating a good amount of saturated fat and your cholesterol goes through the roof, like goes to 500, goes to like crazy numbers, you probably have that genotype that says you don't necessarily digest, process saturated fat like other people do. So, and then that's debatable. It's interesting. Even 𝘾𝙊𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂, he wrote all those low carb type books, and I just read his recent book, The Case for Keto. He, interestingly, even though he's such a believer in like low carb eating, and he thinks of all the benefits and low insulin levels and fasting, his cholesterol is slightly elevated. I was really surprised. I gotta leave a comment, comment him. He actually takes like a mild statin to keep his cholesterol low, but I don't remember if he has the genotype in the book. I'm not sure. And also, Peter Attia also mentioned that if you have an extremely strong family history of, say, coronary heart disease and things along the lines of that, and you have hyperinsulinemia, you have certain things, you might not, I don't know if hyperinsulinemia is the right thing. I want to take that back. I forget exactly what he said. Hypercholesterol, if you have a family history of like having extremely high cholesterol, like 800, like crazy numbers like that, you really, you might want to be careful with taking a saturated fat. So when I talk about a ketogenic diet, and I might talk about me eating low carb and I get most of my calories from fat, it's really not saturated fat. It really is mostly monounsaturated fat from olive oil, right, from avocados. Yes, I'm eating some red meat, but I'm eating a lot of salmon, I'm eating a lot of sardines. So I do get some saturated fat for sure, but most of my calories come from monounsaturated fat when it comes to fat. Did I miss any here? Yeah. Okay. I have buffalo burger. Yeah, buffalo burgers are great. I love buffalo burgers. Cool. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. First thing I had a buffalo burger, I was like, man, this is some hardcore meat. Yes. Was used to fat. Yes, no, I agree. Essentially, one of my clients actually is an incredible hunter. He hunts all over the world, and he shot a buffalo, and I had tons of buffalo meat. This is like 5-6 years ago, and he went to a place where there was an excessive amount of buffalo. Like, it was like a farm type place, like a farm hunting. Like, he don't feel bad that he actually shot a buffalo. It was kind of really set up like that. You can only kill so many every year. It's done very humanely and all that, and it was incredible. I had tons of buffalo meat. I actually like making like hamburgers and chili more than eating a buffalo steak, because it's so lean, the buffalo steak. I find the chili and the burger so much better. So we got no buffalo in the Netherlands. I'm sure that, right? Angus beef. That's right. Smoked and pancake. Yeah, smoked and a pancake. Yes. That's what we got. Yes, that's for sure. Okay, so this is the general formula I'm following. So we're going to do 18-6, no breakfast, essential aminos, 10 a.m. in the morning, taking a little protein without any calories, without breaking the fast. Workout, around noon, break the fast, 2 p.m., last meal by 8 o'clock. I'm going to cycle my calories from doing 2 MAD, 3 MAD, keep the carbs below 100 grams, keep the protein at 150, and we'll see how it goes for the next 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to it. I've been doing it for a couple of days already. I already feel better. I feel like I'm getting I worked out yesterday at the gym, had a nice pump at the gym, felt a little better. Plus, I enjoyed having some berries, and I had these 2 crackers too, which I love having from time to time. I even had a little wine last night too. My wife was away. I had 1 glass of wine, watching. Okay, so I want to give some examples. Actually, this is a different camera. I'm going to change this camera. I don't like how that looks. Okay. I want to give an example, because people ask me, like, what do you mean, Mike? What's the big deal? Well, what's the difference between like 50 grams of carbs and 100 grams of carbs? To me, it's actually a big difference. It makes the difference of me always being like in like a mild state of ketosis to me just popping in and out of ketosis. And it's such a delicate changed for me. Like, for example, let's see, we have great range buffalo meat is amazing. We'll have to check it out. That sounds good. Cool. So basically, this is an example of like what I was eating when I was in that, 50 grams or less of carbs a day. See, I had, and it's hard to tell from this picture, but this is only like a small, this is like half an avocado instead of me typically having a whole. I got a couple of sardines here. I have a little bit of smoked salmon and some olives. So the amount of carbs in this is very low, especially net carbs is next to nothing, with half an avocado here. Maybe I'm getting 10 grams of carbs, maybe from this lunch. Let's see what Michael's got. Okay, 18.6 crew here by the sounds of it. Yeah, everyone's into 18.6. I think that's going to be, it's interesting because, for years and years, everyone's talking 16.8, which I think is great too. But I think those extra 2 hours, and I did a video, it's one of my better performing videos where I talk about the difference between 16.8 and 18.6, just being in a fasted state for 2 more hours. And some of the big differences, first of all, you get a little more of that autophagy, like the cell cleansing, the recycling of weaker damaged organelles. That gets a little bit deeper. Gets a little more upregulated the deeper you're into a fast. So those extra 2 hours can make a difference. Plus, it can make a big difference if you're looking to just dip into a mild state of ketosis. Just being in a fasted state for an extra couple of hours might put you into a mild state of ketosis. So I think I like the 18.6. I think it's a great strategy. It probably is my favorite. Okay, so back to, so this is like, let me blow this up a little bit bigger so you can see it better. So this is kind of the difference. Like, for example, I just like started eating berries again. So basically, what am I getting here? Maybe 20 grams, 25 grams of carbohydrates for some berries. Whereas this lunch before, when I was staying in ketosis, was void. We're just having the avocado. Plus this is probably a whole avocado. So I'm getting a little more carbs there. So those are the kind of differences, like those delicate changes that I'm making. Same thing here. Let me change this camera too. Same thing. This one I was doing that ketogenic diet. I had some bacon, which I love. I was having, a couple of eggs, half an avocado, a little bit of tomatoes. This is very low carb. We're talking maybe 5, 6, 7 grams of carbs here. But then now I'm back to having my berries. I'm having some blueberries, some strawberries, a little guacamole, salmon. So see, it's not like it's all that different going from 50 to 100 grams of carbs. But it is, if you do want to be in ketosis, you really do have to keep the carbs pretty low. So now I'm back to more of a low carb type diet. Let's see what Gene's got. I'm still on 16.8. I like 18. No, I think they're both great. See, for you, Carol and Gene, I think since you've done so well, if you lost 22 pounds, I think it would be good for you to like fool around with 16.8, 18.6 and do it with cycling your calories. So on the days when you're doing 16.8, you're eating a little bit more. Other days when you do 18.6, you're doing a little bit less. So maybe you go to like maintenance calories when you're doing 16.8, and then you go into a calorie deficit when you're doing 18.6. I'm still a big believer, besides all the hormonal benefits of being in a fasted state, like keeping insulin levels low, because when insulin levels high, it's really hard to release fat out of those fat cells. So you really have to create an environment, to let the fat get out of the fat cells so you can burn it up. And you can do that through fasting, through low carb eating. But calories still do count. Like you could be on a ketogenic diet, eating an insane amount of fat, and you could be gaining weight, even though insulin levels are low, even though fat's coming out of the fat cells, fat's going into the fat cells really quickly too. So if you can do like 16.8, 18.6 and kind of cycle your calories, I think that's a great thing to do. Plus, remember all those research studies from The Biggest Loser, the people who lost all that weight, they kind of ruined their metabolism. They restricted calories so aggressively for like months on end, and then years later they gained back all the weight, and their metabolisms were like still slow. It never rebounded back from restricting calories for too long. So I am definitely a big believer in cycling calories, to going to maintenance, to maybe having refeed days from time to time, or you can do 16.8, 18.6, eat more, eat less. I think that could, but I don't want to mess you up because you're doing so well, so take everything I say with a grain of salt there too. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what Michael says. I eat raspberries and blackberries most days. Absolutely love them. I have them. I love them too. Oh, with yogurt too. Cool. No, I love the berries. I mean, it's low sugar fruit. Yes, there's some carbs. It's about 20 grams of carbs per cup, something like that. But you're getting the polyphenols. You're getting all the dark pigments. I mean, it's so good for your berries. I do. I think it's great. Yeah, for sure. May, let's see what we got here. 16. I like 618. And I agree. Everyone, we have a lot of 18.6s here, which is great. That's cool. Okay, yes. Yes, I struggle getting all my calories and my appetite is low now. Yes, I understand that. I totally know how you feel. I work with so many people who say this. So try to make a little bit of a conscious effort to go to maintenance calories. I know people say, Mike, what do you mean by maintenance? You almost have to experiment a little bit. I always say like 10 times your body weight plus 500, 750 calories is probably going to be maintenance. Like when I put someone on a calorie deficit and they don't want to go through like, calculating trying to figure out their energy expenditure and blah, 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 and getting really complicated. I like to say 10, 11 times your body weight is a good calorie deficit. So if you're 150 pounds, you eat 1,600 calories, that's a good deficit. Now to be at maintenance, obviously depends on how active you are. If you're running 10 miles a day, obviously it's going to be much more than that. I like to say 500 to 750 calories over 10 times your body weight is kind of like a reasonable way to look at maintenance, but you almost have to experiment. In your case, I would just say maybe just eat a little bit more, from time to time. Just make sure you're not constantly in a calorie deficit. Let's see what we got. Hey, Melissa. Melissa's been in here. I do 16-8, Monday through Friday, 18-6 Saturday. Low carb just works best for me. Would like to lose 20 pounds. I think you can do it. I like your strategy. I don't know if you saw the earlier of the thing. Let me pull up a slide, but that's what we talked about it earlier. This is what. Let me give you a super quick review. We're gonna do for the next 2 weeks. I'm gonna do 18-6, skip breakfast. I'm taking in some essential amino acids just to make sure I get a little protein without breaking my fast. I'm gonna work out around noon. Gonna break my fast around 2. Last meal at 8. I'm going to keep my carbs low. I'm going to make sure I take an adequate amount of protein. I'm going to cycle my calories with 2 MAD and 3 MAD. I think you can definitely do. I think you can do well with that, Melissa, for sure. Calories count. Keep that in mind. Eat a whole natural food diet. Check back in with me. You can do it. I like what you're doing. Let's see what we got. Okay, we own a gym. I'm 5'8", 154 pounds, but muscular. That sounds great. Your weight's good. Are you looking still to lose more weight, or you're happy with the 22-pound weight loss and you want to just go more in like maintenance mode? Sometimes it's good to go in maintenance for a couple of weeks. You can go in maintenance for a month and then kick in again and see what's going on. If you're strong, you look good, you seem to be a good weight. I think you're doing great, Carolyn, for sure. Let's see what Mike's got here. Okay. Mike, for your next video, can you like a few of your meals from weeks? Oh, definitely. Always good to see what. Definitely. I love doing videos. Those are easy videos for me to do. I will. It's funny. I got messed up with the holidays a little bit. I haven't done like a straight up video, but the next video I'm going to do, and I've been doing a lot of research on it, back to that Peter T. I'm going to do a video. It's going to be a little sciencey. I'm still kind of torn between how sciencey I should get. I want to do a video just explain to everyone exactly like how fat goes into a fat cell. Like what are the factors that makes your fat cells get bigger? Because that's how, obviously everyone wants to lose body fat. Like what are the factors? Like how does body fat, the actual triglycerides, go into the fat cell, right? And how do they come out? So how can you create an environment where it's easy for you, for the fat cell, for lipolysis, for fat to get out of the fat cell? Like for example, if you're a person who's constantly like spiking insulin and you're insulin resistant and leptin resistant, you can be in a calorie deficit and just be like blocking fat from being released from the fat cell. It gets, so I'm definitely a believer in calories do count, keeping insulin levels low. Like the 3 ways you have to lose weight, right, is food quality, for sure. Like if you're eating just all sugar processed foods, you can have a hard time losing weight because insulin is going to be high and you're going to get a lot of, you're going to be eating trigger foods and always going to be hungry. The other thing is calories, right? The amount of food you eat does count, and then food timing, being in a fasted state. So I want to do a video. That's going to be my next video, talking about how fat gets into a fat cell and how it comes out. And it's going to be a little sciencey. Let's see what we got. Michael. Yes, I want to learn. I want to lean on some more. I would do. So do it. It's okay if this is what I would do, Carolyn. Definitely. Make sure you go to maintenance on some days. It's gonna kind of pop up your metabolism. See, when you lose weight, metabolic adaptation, your metabolism slows down. It's good. You don't want to over exaggerate that. So try to go to maintenance. There were some studies, I did videos on this too, that showed people who Like, for example, restrict calories, say for 8 weeks, and then they go to maintenance calories for 2 weeks, as opposed to people who stay in a calorie deficit. The people that go to maintenance calories have better long-term weight loss, and their metabolism slow down less. And I am a believer in that. So if you can somehow get the maintenance calories either for a couple of weeks, or maybe do that 18-6 one day and do 16-8 the other day and then eat a little bit more, I think it'll help you long-term lean out more. I know it's hard for you sometimes, but try your best to do it. And also, I think you said you're eating enough protein, but women in general, just make sure you're getting enough protein, because it's the thermic effect of protein. For every 100 calories of protein you eat, you're going to burn up 20-30% of those calories just digesting the protein, but you want to maintain your muscle mass. But it sounds like with the gym, it sounds like you're okay with the protein. Let's see, Melissa. I do love oatmeal once in a while. I think that's okay. Hey, you got to eat some carbs, right? If you love oatmeal, and there's a little bit of fiber in oatmeal, and I don't think it's such a bad thing. It just, some people I personally like the time. Like, if I'm going to do every now and then I'll eat oatmeal, but I may do it as a post-workout meal, because I want the oatmeal to be converted into glycogen and have my muscles suck it up and volume my muscle cells. So on a refeed day for me, which I may do every now and then, every few weeks or something, I might have a bowl of oatmeal with some raisins and cinnamon. Cinnamon's good for your raisins. I don't think it's so bad. It's just not something I would do every single day. Just not something I would do first thing in the morning, like taking all sugar like that. It's going to make you hungry. It's going to spike your insulin. It's going to just set you up. I think it'll put you in a bad place for the rest of the day. I'm definitely in more of the low carb camp in general, but I don't think it's also horrible. Okay. Post-menopause, I know. Well, you're younger than me, but my wife, I'm 50 now. My wife's the same age. It's harder. There's hormonal issues. There's no question about it. It's harder when you get older. It just is. That's how it is. And it's also harder for women than men, I think, to lose weight, lose body. If I could just think women are geared more for childbearing in general. So it's harder for women, and menopause is no joke. Definitely not, right? So what's your maintenance calories? I hate math. Maintenance calories. Well, like I said, I would try this. Why don't you go 10 times your body weight? You're 154 pounds, right? So let's say your calorie deficit is around 1,500 calories. If you went to 2,000 to say 2,250, I think that's going to be somewhere around maintenance for you. It's hard to know exactly. It also going to depend on how active you are. And, you can go on, Google it, and you can, there are these calculators. You can enter your activity level and how much you're sleeping, and it'll kind of calculate your basal metabolic rate, and it'll tell you exactly what they think your maintenance calories are. Even MyFitnessPal, that app, which I love, it'll tell you if you put in all the information, roughly what your maintenance calories are. You still have to experiment a little bit. But it's nice to know. That's another thing I would do, Caroline, for sure. I would definitely track your calories, your protein, your fats, your carbs, your macros for a couple of weeks just to see where you're at. And I know it's a little bit of a work, and it could be, if you're a little obsessive like me, I don't want you to drive yourself nuts, but it'll show you where you're at. And then it'll really help you figure out where is maintenance. So maybe you have to eat a little bit more, a little bit less. But once you start tracking everything, and you don't have to be crazy, because as long as you're kind of close, it's really eye-opening. MyFitnessPal is great. Chronometer is another great one. That's even a better one. It's a little more complicated though, but it goes into vitamins, minerals, and nutrients like that. But I think MyFitnessPal is great. It's free. You can pay for the premium. It gives you a couple of more services. But I don't even think you need. I think the free app is just wonderful. MyFitnessPal. Highly recommend it. Yeah, I miss man. I know, but every now and then it's okay. To fill up. Just think, if you're the 150-pound person can hold 1,500, 2,000 calories of glycogen, stored carbohydrate in the muscles, right? Maybe another 200 to 400 calories in the liver. If you're eating a low carb diet and your muscles are low in glycogen, and you have a bowl of oatmeal, it's not like that oatmeal is going to be converted into body fat. It's just going to fill up your muscle with glycogen. Yes, the next day you might be a pound or two heavier because that stored glycogen is going to make you hold more water. But it's not not so bad. It is bad if you're you've been overweight for a decade. You're insulin resistant. Your muscle and liver are full to the brim with carbohydrates. Then you eat more carbohydrates. Your liver's going to make triglycerides. You're going to you'll be letting, you can convert carbohydrates, de novo, you can convert carbohydrates into body fat. You can, if your muscles and liver have been full with carbohydrates for a long time, you get all these metabolic type issues, I wouldn't recommend having oatmeal. But in your case, every now and then, I think it's totally okay to have a little oatmeal every now and then. It may even be a good thing for you to do. Ugh. Okay. Hey, Michael, I bought really high quality hummus the other day and realized how much it tastes so different to the local supermarket hummus. Absolutely love it. But I think I made a mistake. Yeah, I know. It isn't the hummus. The crazy thing about hummus is if you can make it at home, on a processor, you get in the chickpeas, right? Which is not so bad. Yes, there's some carbs, but you're getting good fiber, you're getting some protein. But then you can add the good oil. See, the oils, just like the sugars and the high fructose corn syrup, those processed seed oils are probably just as bad, and they stay in your system longer. I mean, you don't want to eat those corn oils, the seed oils, the canola oils. Those are the things you really want to avoid. And unfortunately, when you buy like a store-bought hummus, like a manufactured, I don't know if a local store's making it, maybe it's great. But if you're buying one of those big manufactured type hummuses, they're using the cheap oils. So that would be my biggest concern with the hummus. Plus, what you're dipping it with, right? If you're having it with celery, something like that's fine. But if you're dipping it with potato chips and corn chips, or just with like crackers, then it's tough. But a little bit of hummus. I love hummus, especially I used to make. My brother makes it. He makes his own hummus, and he does a great job. And he uses extra virgin olive oil and all that. It tastes great. I love it. Let's see what we got here. What else, Mike? Well, he is high quality for now, I think. I don't eat enough, so I'll join. Yeah, no, definitely. Fool around with it. I would try MyFitnessPal. It's free. It's really eye-opening just to see how much protein you're eating, how many carbs, how many fats, and your total calories. I think it's a great thing to do. Everyone should do it at least once in your life. Not to drive yourself nuts. Just do it for a couple of weeks and, leave it, and you can always come back to it if you need it. I think it's a great thing to do. Oh, Mike! Oh, hey! Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. I know you started your new channel. I've been checking it out. It's great that you're documenting your weight loss journey. Let's see, Mike. What do you think a healthy body fat percentage is? Good and healthy to maintain. Also, have you read any of? Yes, Clarence Bass. I read all his books. I grew up with Clarence Bass. I felt so bad for him because I know his last book, which I did not read. I read all of his other one. I read his first book, Ripped, where he got 2.3% body fat. I was a big follower of Clarence Bass. I even contacted him once. I was training a bodybuilder. This is in 1980. I want to say 1986 or something like that. Who I was training for a local bodybuilding contest. I was like training him, and we were consulting with Clarence Bass the whole time. He was, a great guy. But that's what I'm saying. I know his last book. I think he got prostate cancer and a hip replacement. Even though he bounced back, it was really sad. I truthfully, it was upsetting for me to even to hear about it, and that's why I didn't get the book. I really should read the book now, but I think he's doing fine. I know he's healthy and he's doing okay, but I know he had a tough time about 5 or 6 years ago when he was diagnosed with those issues. But yes, okay, what's a healthy body fat? Hey. I don't think you should even strive for to try to do what I'm trying to do, like 12%, 10%. I think if you can be 25, like they say the ideal body fat, for a woman, if you're young and you want to be really lean, is like 22%. A man is like 13 to 15%. If you can get in the 20s, 24, 25%, because I know you have a lot of weight to lose, I think that would be great. But I wouldn't even look at it like that. You just want to be moving consistently in the right direction. That's the key to everything. Just be consistent. If you can lose 1% of your body weight per week consistently, so if you're 300 pounds, you can lose 3 pounds a week consistently. Every now and then you're going to hit a plateau and not lose anything for a week or two, and then you'll just drop 5 pounds. That's just how the body works. Just find a system and just be consistent. That's the key. And don't be too concerned about what's the ideal percent body fat you want to get to, unless it motivates you. If it motivates you, then I think it's great. If you like to read those Clarence Bass books, and you can follow any one of his programs. He's a little more higher carb than me, but it's he's great, Clarence Bass. I love him. Let's see, we got some more new comments that we got down here. Okay. There's a great recipe, hemp hearts. Hemp heart oatmeal. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I like hemp hearts. Clarence Bass, good guy, yeah, and I like him too. He always, it's funny, every time, I haven't tried to contact him, literally I'm talking like in 20 years, but 20 years ago, if I would email him, he'd get back to me. He'd email me back, and he was a really, but I think he did really well. I think he was in like the mainstream of like Muscle and Fitness, and he used to write articles, had a column. I think, I don't know if he had a newsletter, but I used to see his information. I kind of lost touch. Now that you said Clarence Bass, I'm going to look him up tomorrow, when I get to the gym. I have a couple of his books actually at my gym. I'm going to look him up and see what's going on with him, if he's still publishing articles and like what he's doing. He must be, I don't know, could he be in his 80s? I think he won like Mr. Olympia post 40, like 40 plus. He was a Mr. Olympia. He documented everything. He was like a scientist. I know he was a lawyer, but he was like he took a very scientific approach. He was more into the high intensity type training, like an Arthur Jones, type guy. I know at one point he was just doing like quick lifts like once a week, like high intensity training. He was a big believer in recovery. He did an interesting thing too. When I used to follow him, he would go to like the Cooper Clinic like every single year and just be completely measured, like extensive blood work, have a stress test done. He had all this all this workup, and he always was in like optimal health. That's why I was really upsetting to hear about the prostate and even the hip replacement. But hey, sometimes some of these things are just genetic. It's hard to say. Let's see. He always emailed you back too. Yeah, he really was a good guy. Very friendly guy. Yeah, I liked him. I did like him. And he's a smart guy too. Very reasonable. A minimalist, when it came to exercise. And I think he was an honest, straight up guy. I always liked him too. See, Mike. Take care. My Dutch brother. That's cool. That's nice. That's nice. Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Okay, so I think I had one more picture of. I just wanted to show you this because I don't want people to think that I never eat like carbohydrates. So like every now and then I'll just do something like this. Like if I'm eating my 125 grams of carbs, instead of just doing, like a nice piece of I think there's an Arctic chard with some string beans and some squash. I may do something like this. I may have a salmon roll. With some rice. But what I always do with the rice, and I've talked about this before, is I always like to keep the salmon roll like one day in the refrigerator so the white rice becomes a little bit more of a resistant starch. I know that's a little debatable. I know Dr. 𝘾𝙃𝙄𝙉𝙂 did a video on it. I watched it on YouTube saying he thinks it's ridiculous that, when you take a white potato and refrigerate it, you take white rice and refrigerate it, it doesn't become a resistant starch. But there are other people that say, no, yes, it does, like Dr. Stephen Gundry. Says it does. I've heard other people say it. I think Mark Sesson, Primal Blueprint guy, he's a believer in resistant starches. And the whole theory is that when you take like white rice or you take a white potato and you refrigerate it, it chemically changes to some degree. So then when you eat that food, it almost becomes like more of a fiber type food. It becomes resistant to digestion. It feeds the good bacteria in your stomach. So you don't digest all the calories in it. But still, I just love it. I love sushi. I love a sushi roll. So this is these are the changes I'm making. I'm going from what I'm doing on this left side where I'm eating very low carb, right? Like no grains at all, no fruits, no berries, to now I'm back to more my normal low carb eating, where every now and then I'll do a feed day like this. I'll have some berries. I'll have a sushi roll every now and then. Or like I said, I'll have some berries, I'll have some raspberries, some strawberries with lunch. Then when it comes to dinner, instead of just doing something like this is to me a small amount of vegetables. Now I'll have at least double this. I'll eat half a thing of cauliflower. I'll eat like 3-4 cups of string beans, something like that. So that's how I'm going to increase my carbs. I'm still going to eat low carb. So when it comes to me being ketosis, I'll probably dip in ketosis now and then. Like for example, if I do like a really hard workout and then say I do an 18-hour fast, the last few hours of the next day, maybe I'll be in a mild state of ketosis. But I'm not even going to measure my ketones. I don't like poking my finger all the time, like I said. So let's see. Okay, so I guess we got the gist, and I'll do this. If you like these live streams like this, let me know. Let me know if you do. Every couple of weeks, I'll update it, and I'll change the fasting strategy if you guys want to do it along with me. It'll be kind of fun. Let's see. So let's do some Q&A. So we've been on here. We've been on like an hour, 5 minutes. I definitely got some more time. Any questions? Let's see. Okay, Mike. Okay, one thing on my bucket list is to visit your gym. Oh, that'd be great. Are you near New York at all? Near Westchester, New York? Oh, California. You're from California. Really appreciate you. Oh no, it's not charity. I love doing this. You kidding me? I'm trying. I mean, my ultimate goal is to to be a full time. It's slow going. To be a full time content creator on YouTube and to really put out a lot of information. I know I have my one little intermittent fasting, low carb eating course, but I don't really even talk about it much. But I would love to be a full time YouTuber talking about all this stuff, talking about fitness, health, low carb eating, intermittent fasting. Those are all the things I'm really passionate about. But who knows? Maybe we can hook up in California. My college roommate lives in California, like right in LA. With this pandemic, I saw him last time I was out there was pre-pandemic, maybe. I don't know, was it 3-4 years ago? I love going there. He's right near San Diego. I love it. I have some other friends out there. So who knows? Maybe we can hook up in California one day too. I'm dying. I'm still laying pretty low with this pandemic, unfortunately. And the gym too. Hard for me to get people. I used to be like a waiting list to get into my gym. My gym's doing okay, but it's not like it was. Pandemic is taking its toll, but hopefully things will get better soon. Let's see what we got here. Yes, I like the live streams. Oh, good. Just give a little more notice. I know. I just happened to luck out and pull up YouTube. I know I'm going to give a little more notice. I still keep on having a hard time pulling the trigger and committing and saying, okay, every Sunday, like at 3 o'clock, I'm going to really do that. I really do want to come up with just a whole schedule in general, saying I'm going to release a new video like every Tuesday. I have to do it, but I appreciate it. I will do that. I've been wanting to do it, and I have to do it. I want to come up with a set life schedule for sure. Okay, guys, any other questions? I think we still got about 10 people, 9-10 people here. Anything else? Fitness, health, weight loss? I'm going to give you a little time because sometimes it's like a 2-minute delay before I see the question. Could be anything, working out, could be, more weight loss, more fasting, low carb, whatever you think. Also, if you have any topics you want me to cover, I know we have one. I'm going to do a video like we talked about. I think Mike wanted a video on like the type of meals in the meeting. I definitely want to do that. I love doing those type of videos because they're kind of real. They're real videos. People love to see the exact meals in the meeting. Anything else? I'll give it another minute. If not, we'll call it a night. Let's see. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everyone showing up. Once again, so fun. Next time, I promise I will give more notice. Okay. I hope everyone's having a wonderful holiday season. I hope Thanksgiving was good. I know if you're out of the U.S., it's not holiday season. Let's see. Okay, one question. Go. We got a question. Okay, let's see. Question about weightlifting. Give me a minute to type it in. Sounds good. I'll give you some time for sure. Okay. That's it. Yeah, I hope everyone had a good holiday season. Let's see. Okay. I feel like upper body exercises where the upper arms are at most at a 45-degree angle are safer for the shoulders. We'll look at it like this. You definitely lose room. There's always like there's a couple things. First of all, you got your humerus, right? Like ball and socket, the glenoid, the shoulder joint. It's always encapsulated. So whenever you twist, like when you go like this and you twist your shoulder, to some degree you're taking your humerus, to some degree you're taking your humerus and screwing it deeper into the joint so you have less room. So to some degree, like when you're going like this and you're externally rotating, you're like decreasing the room in your shoulder to some degree. Plus, just think there's the AC joint, the acromion processes. I have something called bench press shoulder because I did so much bench pressing like as a kid and in my 20s and 30s, and that my AC joint, it gets a little thicker. And when your AC joint gets thicker, there's that one muscle, that rotator cuff muscle called supraspinatus, which is right underneath there. It bumps up against it. So, for example, if you can say do a bench press down here, but then you start, raising your shoulder, you're kind of bumping up on that AC joint, which can cause some issues. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. When you get older, you gotta find positions and grooves that just doesn't bother you, for sure. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Carolyn Jean. I really appreciate you showing up. This is great. If I can do anything for you, let me know. Leave comments after the videos. Any questions, let me know. You're gonna do great. I'm happy for your 22-pound weight loss, which is wonderful. Look up my last comment. I will. I definitely will. Let's see. Where's your last one? Hemp seed heart. Is that one? Okay, maybe you just left a new comment. You're saying. Okay. Are rotator cuff exercises not also causing a bit pressure in the joint due to, yes, yes, to some degree, but look at it like this. That's why in my opinion, they should be done with such a light weight. Like I literally, like if I'm doing the band work, if you're noticing, I think I sent you some of those videos, I'm using like a light to moderate band. But yes, but just think it's okay if you're not overdoing it and just getting a little bit of that corkscrew effect, because you are strengthening, like subscap, internal rotation, external, teres major, teres minor, supraspinatus, you're strengthening all those rotator cuff muscles. And like if I'm doing like a dumbbell, like say I'm laying on the bench doing external rotation, I'm holding like a 7.5 pound dumbbell. And I also really like a slow eccentric motion. It's really great for the tendons. I think it's such a great way to strengthen the rotator cuff for sure. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay. I've been doing the testosterone advantage plan by Lou. I know he's really good, Lou. I read one of his books a long time ago. I can't say that I know it, but I'm sure it's good. Okay, he has us do the workout in phases where the last 4 weeks the weights keep getting heavier, but only do 4 to 6 reps per set recently. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, one thing I do like a lot, and I think he's a pretty sharp guy, because I know he's been around. I think he's my age. He's been doing this forever. Let me get to the second part, and then I'll help answer that. Okay. Another trainer told me I should do weights that I can do for 10 reps per set. That is dumbbells. By the way, okay, let's see. So, this is dumbbells, by the way. He was worried about injuries. Okay, look at it like this. I don't think there's all that much difference between like 4 to 6 reps and 10 reps. Yes, the weight's heavier with 4 to 6 reps. I also look at it like this. A lot of it has to do with your rep cadence. Like some people use the term time under tension. Some people use the word like time under load. I kind of like time under load. Like for example, if you're doing 4 reps and you're doing, or 6 reps and you're using a 5-second rep cadence, right? 4 times, that's 20 to 30 seconds. But say you're doing 10 reps and you're using a 2-second rep cadence, it's still about the same time under load. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Obviously the weight's heavier if you're using the same rep cadence, only doing 4 to 6 reps. Well, definitely will create an effect. But what I did like what you said is that like the 4 weeks keeps on getting heavier. This is how I like to do most of my resistance training. Is I like to work in cycles. I like an 8 to a 10 week cycle. And I do think that most of your resistance training should not be that hard. And this is a Clarence Bass almost type thing. He would always cycle his intensity like this. And I learned this from him from like 30, 40 years ago. So for example, for example, if you're doing like an 8-week cycle, like the first 2 weeks shouldn't be that hard. Then it should be a little bit harder. Then it should be a little harder. But say maybe you should only be going to momentary muscle failure. Maybe you only should be going to like 95% effort for the last 2 weeks. So I kind of like that. If that's what Lou's talking about when it comes to like the last few weeks doing 4 to 6 repetitions. You see, the new research showing this, but I mean, this has been around forever. You can put on muscle in pretty much every rep range. Whether you're doing 1 rep, whether you're doing 4 to 6 reps, whether you're doing 12 to 15 reps, whether you're doing 20 reps. It really depends kind of on the intensity. So I think you should vary your rep ranges. I mean, I think 4 to 6 is fine. I think 10 reps is fine too. I know bodybuilding, people always say, oh, the magic numbers like 12 repetitions is the best for hypertrophy. I don't think that's necessarily true. It really depends on the intensity, your rep cadence, like the speed in which you're lifting the weight. I think I do love the idea of like progressive resisting, progressive overload, where you just kind of start off easy and make it hard. The last couple of weeks of an 8 to 10 week cycle is really hard, and then you regroup again and start all over. There's no magic number when it comes to the reps. See, and now that I'm older, I very rarely do a 4 to 6 rep range. Every now and then I'll do that. I do more of that metabolic stress where I close the muscle down. I'm more in like, that 12 to 15 range. But I mix it up too. I go 8. I mean, I would do all different things. But I'm sure it's a wonderful program. Let's say they have another question. I hope I'm not mixing you up. I jumped all over the place there a little bit. Hey, it's 9 weeks planned, and he says take a week off after. I think that's great. I'm just hoping that out of that 9-week plan that you're doing, I'm just hoping that you're progressively making it harder. So I'm assuming that the first few weeks maybe weren't as hard. I don't know what philosophy he's using where he's saying, okay, keep the weights lighter in the beginning and do higher repetitions, and then the last few weeks get down to 4 to 6 reps and make the weight heavier. I think that's fine, but I wouldn't like it is if, for example, you're doing like lighter weights in the beginning of that 9-week cycle, but still going to failure. Like if you're always going to failure, just always like going like 90% effort, even though your rep range is changing, I think you're overdoing it and you're going to run into trouble. But I do think it's okay though, for example, that if you're keeping the weight like lighter, but then just giving a little 80% effort in the beginning and then kind of making the weight heavier and progressing. I think that's a great way of doing it, but there's so many different ways to do it, you know? Okay. I had surgery November 2nd, so I haven't been able to work out or exercise, but I'm starting back. Oh, that sounds good. Sorry about the surgery. I hope it went well. I mean, hope it went well, but I would ease back into it for sure. Okay. 20 rep made bodybuilders big also. Yes, so no question about it. You can get a lot done at 20 reps. I read a textbook. I forget the guy's name. I think his first name was Brad. I forget his last name. He does a lot of research on hypertrophy. He's kind of like a famous guy for hypertrophy. In his textbook, I read it maybe 3 or 4 summers ago. It's funny, with this pandemic, I feel like I lost 2 years of my life. I think this is probably 4 or 5 years ago. And the main gist of this textbook, and he looked at all the latest research. He does his own studies on hypertrophy. And I think the big takeaway from the textbook is that you can get a lot done. You can definitely put on muscle, produce hypertrophy with light weights just as well with heavy weights. You might not be as strong, that's for sure. You may not be able to lift as much weight, but when it comes to like putting on muscle and hypertrophy, you can do it with 20 reps as long as you're working hard. You can't do 20 reps with 5-pound dumbbells and not create a response. I mean, if you're working hard, it's really effort is the main thing. And then that's the thing that I'm a big believer into, cycling your effort. As long as you're working hard, it's great, but you can't do it all the time. Most of the time, you should be working easy to moderate. And then every now and then, like on that 9-week cycle, those last 2-3 weeks of a 9-week cycle, you go for it. I like the idea of taking a week off. You just walk, relax, regroup again. So you recommend after the week off, start again with low weights, then yes. But I guess I don't want to confuse you. I think that's yes. Take a week off and start with low weights. But it's more, I guess the point I'm trying to make it is more, not necessarily the heavy or light weights, it's more the intensity. Meaning that when you start over again, start off easy again in the beginning. No matter what weight you're using or no matter what rep range you're in. So what I mean is that go 80% effort, go 75% effort. So if you can do, let's say you can bench press, say 200 pounds, like a maximum of 12 times. So either I wouldn't try to go to failure 12 times. I mean, the first couple of weeks, maybe only do 8 reps for 200 pounds, right? Then, maybe go to 10 reps for a couple of weeks. Then maybe go to 12 reps 6 weeks in, and then maybe try to make a new personal record and go all out and try to make 13, 14, 15 reps at the end of like an 8-week cycle. That's what I mean. And then you can keep on changing your rep ranges. You can say, okay, for the next 9 weeks, I'm going to do like a high rep. I'm training all high reps. I'm going to be in the 15 to 20 rep range. I'm going to start off easy and I'm going to keep on making the weight heavier, but my goal is keep the reps high. Then you may want to just do like triples. You may want to do like just do like a little bit of a powerlifting thing, or just maybe be in the 4 to 6 rep range. Or you can do maybe what I think Lou is having you do, which just seems like he's making it the weight heavier and lowering your reps on the higher end of the phase. There's so many different ways of doing it. But the key that I'm trying to bring a point is cycle your intensity over like whatever period you decide you're working in. If you're working in that 9-week cycle, you can't go to failure every single day in the gym for 9 weeks. I would limit it to the last couple of weeks of that cycle, depending upon what rep range you're in. And I think it's a good thing to vary rep ranges, for sure. I even did somewhat of a technical video a number of years ago on like what's the ideal rep ranges for bodybuilding, and I took more of like an energy system perspective to it. Like slow twitch fibers, fast twitch fibers. I explained all that, ATP and insulin triphosphate, how the body makes ATP and that, creatine. I went into that in really great detail. It's a pretty cool video. It didn't do well because maybe it was too technical, but I'll link it below this if you want to check it out. Let's see. Okay. In the advanced workout, he also did what he calls waves, where you go back and forth between heavy and light. But that's more complicated. I think that's fine too. I guess what I'm trying to figure out from Lou is when he says heavy or light, does he mean easy, hard, or does he mean heavy, light, and the intensity is always at the same? Because there is a difference. You know what I mean? Like, it's really all about intensity. If you're always just going like, say, 90% effort, like 95% effort, and really working hard, you can overdo it whether you're lifting light weights or heavy weights. Yes, maybe the light weights can be easier on your joints because you're doing more repetitions, right? But, those are the factors. So when it means waves, I would say, are the waves more intensity or the waves more just lightweight to heavyweight? Because I guess, the older I get, the more you realize you can't just go all out in the gym, especially also when it comes to like cardio work. I've talked about this many times before. So many of these world-class endurance athletes have AFib, have irregular heart rates from decades of being anaerobic threshold, of just like training at like near max heart rate, every day for 10 years. It damages your heart. You want to with AFib. I think Larry Bird's got AFib. Billie Jean King's got AFib. Mark Spitz has AFib. Mark Sesson, the guy I was talking about, how I follow paleo, I think he's got a little bit of AFib. He's taking like a beta blocker. He talks about it all the time. You can't just go all out all the time. You gotta, just like this intermittent fasting thing where you cycle your calories, you take a diet break. The same thing with the working out. You gotta cycle your intensity. That's the key. No matter what rep range you're doing, you can't go all out all the time. You gotta work moderately most of the time. 80% of your training should be preparing for when you do go all out. That's the big takeaway for sure. I really should start talking more about. I want to start talking more about this. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Arnold was Arnold was a madman. That's why I think Arnold's got a lot. Unfortunately, got a lot of health issues. He's pretty banged up. I'm pretty banged up too from doing silly things for 25 years. I overtrained for 20 years. I lifted weight for 2 hours a day, for 20 years in my 20s and 30s. Every disc in my neck and my back's herniated both. Not necessarily from working out. I did it from surfing and from riding motocross and things like that, skateboarding. But I hurt myself. I overtrained. There's no question about it. I wish I knew, back then what I knew now, for sure. And I'm nowhere near as muscular as I was now, but I'm not as interested. I like to be lean, healthy. My blood work is better now than it was. Like my triglycerides, last time I had blood work, I think were like 44. When I was more muscular and eating more of a high carb and working out like crazy, I'm sure I had much more inflammation in my body. My triglycerides were like, not high, dangerous high, but like 120. I mean, it's incredible, the difference. It's interesting. Okay, I think I get what you're saying, and I will try. Oh, good. I'm glad. That's what I mean. The key is, just the takeaway what I'm trying to say is, cycle your intensity no matter what rep range you're in. So if you're doing like a 9-week cycle, whether you're doing 20 reps or whether you're doing 8 reps, cycle the intensity. Start off easy, 60% effort, 80% effort, 90%, and the last 2-3 weeks you're going to go for it. If you feel good and you make new personal bests and you can just go, maybe you go to momentary muscle failure for the last 2 weeks of a cycle. I love the idea of taking a week off and then regroup and just come up with a new plan. There you go. Switch it up. Yes, switch it up. I agree. Yeah, I think I'm healthy now in a lot of ways. I'm older too, so who knows what's really going on, right? But I think my blood work, I just eat so much better now, and I just don't push it. I just was, similar to SP Spaz was saying, I just pushed it too hard in the gym for like all of my 20s, all of my 30s. I just worked that too much, too long, too hard. And then, I got a knee operation. I pushed my knee too, just so many different things. I think I am healthier now, but just the aging process is unreversible, unfortunately, at 59. So who knows, right? It's hard to say. Okay. Your husband's 68 in January. Whoa, he's learned a lot. Mr. Utah many times. Oh my goodness, he must be unreal. He must have incredible genetics. That's incredible. Wow, he must be in top shape. That's great. That's great. I wonder your kids. You have good genetics for your kids. That's for sure. That's great. If you have kids, that's cool. That's cool. All right. Any other questions? This is great. I love doing this. See, that's another thing with my channel. I'm so torn. I don't mean to keep talking about like YouTube and the algorithm, but it's so difficult. Like for people to find my channel. Like if I start talking about this like workout fitness stuff, they'll take a video of mine and show it to a particular person, right? But then if I do an intermittent fasting video, it's a different person. And then no one looks at my channel. I'm trying to figure out, I love talking about like the resistance training and the working out. And I also love talking about intermittent fasting. I got to figure out like how to do it. Wisdom comes from, yes, comes from age. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Okay. Oh, I missed that comment. I don't know, Carol. I don't know where it is. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe, I don't know. I know you said you wanted me to look over it. I thought maybe you said a comment that you were going to make like under a video, but somehow I missed it. I know you said surgery. I don't know. I'm sorry, Carol. I can't find it. I don't know where it went. Something that happens with comments under my videos, I just lose them. But I'm glad you have kids. I'm sure your kids are doing great. I have 2 kids too. What boy and a girl. I actually have twins, which is incredible. That was the best time of my life. No question about it. When my kids were growing up, raising my kids, I just absolutely loved it. Even though when you're with twins, the first couple of years, you're really in like survival mode. You're just trying to survive. But I really did love it. Just the sports too. Like both my kids were great athletes. My son runs in college still. He's a collegiate runner. He's a mid-distance runner. He's like crazy fast. I love watching him run. Pandemic's messing things up. My daughter also was a great soccer player, also a great runner. They both were president of the track team, and they ran all sports, cross country, indoor track, and they ran track and field like mid-distance. My daughter was a mid-distancer too. Maybe I think she's a little bit more. I think she's more like a 2-miler, even though there wasn't a specific distance for her. But she's a great runner too. I love watching my kids play sports. Just loved it. We got here. You may want to do Thomas the Lord did, and make a set. I know. I might want to do it. I'm not sure. It's so hard. It's really hard when it comes to figuring out this YouTube algorithm. Let's see. Matthew Garcia is here. Hey, I used to do OMAD, and I switched to 24. Now I'm doing 80. Oh, that sounds great. Well, you're right on page with us, Matthew. We've all been talking about this. We do it all, but I also like what we just said right there. I also love the idea of mixing it up like that too. You're doing like an OMAD one day, being in a calorie deficit, fasting for 23 hours. The next day, you eat a little bit more. You do a 24-hour fast, up your calories a little bit. And 18-6, maybe you're at maintenance, especially for maintaining muscle mass and all that type of hypertrophy. It's good to mix it up to cycle your calories. But you sound like you know what you're doing anyway. Well, we went into this in real, I've been here for like an hour and a half, and we went into this in great detail about. I'll quickly pull up a slide here. This is the plan that I'm going to follow for the next couple of weeks. I've been recommending people to check it out. I think it is good. So if you do 18-6 every single day, you're doing, they call it time-restricted eating or time-restricted feeding. If you do it intermittently, you would call it intermittent fasting. I think it's a great strategy. I don't know what your goals are, but I think it's a wonderful strategy. I mean, it seems like everyone in this group here, and we're all talking about, we all love 18-6. I think that's what I keep on coming back to. I keep on coming back to 18-6. I really like it. I think you get the best of both worlds. You're able to maintain a decent amount of calories, eat enough protein within a 6-hour eating window, plus an 18-hour fast. You get a little bit of autophagy, human insulin levels low. I like 18-6 a lot. I mean, experiment with it, Matthew. Do it for a few weeks to see how you do, and then mix it up a little bit. Okay. 6'6", oh my God, you guys are some tall kid. That's amazing. I'm sure they're athletes, college athletes too. That's fantastic. That's cool. I would love it. Oh man, that's good. They're tall. We're not tall. We're not that tall in my family. My son's like probably the tallest one. He takes after a little bit of my wife's side of the family. I'm not that tall, 5'9", barely. I'm not even barely 5'9", but I love height, and it's great. It's wonderful. That's great. That's great. Okay. Would you like to say people don't be afraid of yourself consistently and mostly utmost important. Make big steps and then falling because the effort is too no. I'm not. Did I miss that? I'd like to say people don't be too. Oh, right. If you say, okay, that's good. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. All right, guys. All right, so I appreciate it. I've been going an hour and a half. You know, actually, my wife is you know, she's actually flying in from Kansas City today. You know, from her business Christmas party. I gotta go pick her up at the airport. So I'm gonna go like in a minute. But I think we got one more question. I was 1 pound. Oh my God, are you serious? Wow, were you premature? 1 pound. That's incredible. Man, things turned out good though. Hey, everything worked out all right. That's wonderful. That's great. All right, guys. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. You know, I really love doing these live streams. Once again, next time I will give people more notice, but I appreciate everyone tuning in. I'm going to run because I want to, you know, actually I want to get that chili all set for my wife, and I'm going to go to the airport and pick her up. And it was really great sharing this hour and a half with everyone, but I really appreciate it. Yes, 25 weeks. Whoa, 25 weeks premature. That's incredible. Wow. It's funny. See, my kids, I had the twins, but my wife actually went full term. And my wife is not, you know, was somewhat petite. She gained 52 pounds. It was incredible. And she went pretty much full term. She was a little preeclampsia, like her blood pressure went up. And I think that had to do a C-section. I think she gave birth maybe 2 weeks before her due date, which was unreal. I mean, it was incredible. So my kids were like pretty much normal weight and all that. But it was a challenge, you know, twins at the same time. But once my kids were like a little bit older, I just loved every minute of it. I miss it. I was so sad when they went away to college. I just, you know, I guess all parents say, I just want to make sure I live near them, you know, once they get married. Hopefully they're married and grandkids and all that. I just want to be nearby. You know, that's the main thing to me. You know, my parents are doing okay too. So I see my parents all the time. I hope, you know, my brother, I want to be all. I meant that whole compound concept of still living relatively close to all my family members. I would love that. You know, my wife's parents are no longer with us, but so it's really mostly my family, my uncle and things. It should be interesting. I really want to be near my kids once they get married and have kids and all that. That's so important to me. I hope it goes that way. You know. Let's see what we got. 25 weeks. A couple more things. Stay cool where you are. Yeah, thanks. Can we see a pic of Nathan? Yeah, sure. I'll give you another pic of it. There we go. There you go, Matthew. So that's what we're doing. So this one, I'll do this really quick, Matthew, and then I'm going to run. So no, this was another schedule. This was the 18th. Let me show you the 18-6 really quick. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to skip breakfast, fast for 18 hours. There's the picture. Okay, this thing you may not know what I'm talking about, but you know, I'm gonna do a little protein hack and take in essential amino acids 10 a.m., which is no calories, won't break the fast. Then I'm going to work out late in the morning, break the fast 2 p.m., last meal 8 p.m., low carb, whole natural food diet, keep my carbs around the 100 grams because I'm going to eat a low carb, whole natural food diet, 150 grams of protein. I'm going to cycle between 2 MAD and 3 MAD. That means I'm going to cycle my calories. On the days I do resistance training, when I up my calories, taking a little more protein. On the days I'm doing my cardio, which is walking, I'm going to do 2 MAD. That's pretty much what I'm going to stick with. Okay. All right, guys. We need several example meals, simple stuff that's easy to everyone. Yes, I will definitely do that next time for sure. That sounds good. All right, take care, guys. I really loved everyone showing up. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful night, and we'll do this again. I want to try to do this once a week. And the next video I'm going to come out, I'm working on it still. I'm going to come up with a video in a couple days talking about how fat goes into the fat cell, how people gain body fat, and how it can come out of the fat cell so you can burn body fat. It's going to be scientific, but it should be pretty cool. Okay, take care, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.